Welcome back to the Means Report. We appreciate you staying with us. Thanks again to Sean Andrews, a wealth of information that'll hopefully help a lot of small businesses out there. And now a lot of information that will help so many women in our viewing area. And we need to call attention to this. Our subject is gynecologic cancers and how women can spot the warning signs and get the help they need to get on the road to better health. And I can't think of a better expert to lean on to walk us through all of that than Dr. Bunja Rungran. Dr. Rungran is a gynecologic oncologist here in Augusta, also teaches at MCG at AU, and just is a huge part of this community. Doctor, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Brad. It's great to be here today.
Well, it's great to have you. And I'm going to ask you a question just to start off, because gynecologic cancer, that sounds intimidating. Like, what is that? And so that's my first question. What is or are gynecologic cancers just in general?
They're cancers that arise from the reproductive organs. So the uterus, the ovaries, the cervix, the vulva area, the vaginal area.
Do you think there's enough awareness? I know we're in the middle of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Gynecologic cancer had its month in September, if I'm not mistaken. Is there enough awareness of this topic?
Unfortunately, no. There's a lot of awareness about breast cancer, and it is the most common female cancer in the U.S., so it does deserve all of that attention. But the GYN cancers really don't get much attention. Many of them are preventable with early warning signs, and so awareness is really important for them.
All right, so just give us a general idea of what some early warning signs might be. When does a woman know that something is up versus, oh, this is just normal or a part of aging, what have you?
A lot of the symptoms do overlap with normal aging and menopause, so that's where it can be a little bit tricky. But bleeding after you go through menopause is never, ever normal. Even if it's just a one-time episode, they should see their doctor about that. Other symptoms that persist, really paying attention to whether or not persist is important. And so if you're having pelvic pain or bloating, changes with your eating habits or with your bowel habits, then that's something that also really needs to get checked out, especially if it lasts more than a couple of weeks. Primary care doctor is a good place to start with that. They'll know what additional imaging to order if it's needed and be able to set up any referrals. And then also having your annual exams with your regular gynecologist should also be able to pick up any abnormal signs that they may not pick up on their own because they may still be subtle.
What's the age range that these cancers, where a woman might get one of these kinds of cancer? Does it range the whole gamut of really young to really old?
It can technically, but the majority of it happens later in life. Cervical cancer happens most often in the 30s to 40s, but the rest of the cancers happen much later, usually after 50, most of them in the 60s and onward.
If someone spots one of those warning signs you just mentioned, how much of a help is that to use that early detection, get to the doctor and get some sort of treatment program going? Can you cure it or make it go away?
Early detection is absolutely everything for these cancers. If you have abnormal bleeding and you get it checked out, chances are that endometrial cancer that it probably represents is very, very early. And a hysterectomy oftentimes will cure it the majority of the time. Early detection cures these cancers about 90% of the time, and it can be the difference in a simple outpatient surgery versus more advanced cancer treatments that would include chemo and radiation.
I want to go back to the bleeding, because you made a presentation at the Augusta Rotary Club and you emphasized this part. Even if it's a tiny bit of bleeding after menopause, you would say that's too much.
One spot is too much. Any bleeding at all should get checked out.
All right, let's talk about two things, family history and lifestyle choices. We'll start with lifestyle choices. Is there anything that women can do at any point in their lives to reduce their cancer risk?
Absolutely. Healthy habits go a really long way for not only the GYN cancers, but many cancers. Keeping a healthy weight makes a huge difference. Being active, which also helps you maintain that healthy weight. Quitting smoking is huge, as well as limiting alcohol consumption. Obesity is linked to uterine cancers. It's also linked to postmenopausal breast cancers as well. And so keeping that healthy weight is really important for reducing that risk. And then smoking doubles your risk of cervical cancer. And so quitting smoking makes a huge difference as well.
Is it ever too late to quit? For instance, if you're really getting up there in age and you love smoking, could you say what's the point of quitting at this point? Or any cessation is good?
I had this conversation with a 72-year-old yesterday, actually.
Yeah?
It's never too late to quit, and they agreed to quit. As soon as you quit, your body immediately starts repairing, and then you start lowering your risk as your circulation improves, as your response to your immune system improves, inflammation improves, and you start lowering your risks of cancers.
You know, sometimes when people hear the word exercise, as you mentioned a moment ago, they think, oh, I have to go to the gym, or I have to just be really hardcore in that area. What's a good amount of exercise where you'd still reap the benefits?
30 minutes a day, and it doesn't have to be exercise at a gym. It can be household chores, it can be walking around, just some kind of movement where you're not sitting on the couch all day.
Talk to me about family history, if you will, when it comes to GYN cancers. If your mother or grandmother or sister had it, can you just not outrun it at that point?
Not necessarily, but family history is really important, and it is really important to know. Holidays are coming up, so people need to ask their families about cancers that run in the family. 1 in 5 ovarian cancers is linked to a family history, and then 1 in 10 uterine cancers is linked to a family history. And so knowing what your risks are, and then talking to your doctor about it if you've got family members that have been affected by cancer, especially if they were younger, below the age of 50.
Are the symptoms and any concerns a woman may have, are these things that can be addressed by a primary care physician and then they refer them to you all? Do you see pretty good success in that area?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And seeing your primary care doctor and knowing what your symptoms are, knowing what is different for you and communicating that with your primary care doctor is really important.
So let's say that the news comes that a woman does have one of these cancers that you've mentioned. What happens from there? Who is beside her outside of her family to guide her through that journey?
Well, we have a large support team if they're seeing within our practice, and we
Yeah.
have nurses, navigators. We also have a support group here in Augusta. We're very fortunate to have that. Not all areas have it. And it's a very active one. Everything stays local in that area with the CSRA GYN Cancer Support Group. There's also national support groups, the Foundation for Women's Cancer, and the American Cancer Society as well has support online with resources.
Yeah, y'all's support group is just a beautiful thing. It really is. So what are the treatment options? Is it kind of the standard cancer protocol, chemo, radiation? Can surgery help in some cases? I know you mentioned a hysterectomy.
Definitely in early cases,
Yeah.
surgery makes a huge difference, and that may be all that you need. For certain types, or if it's a little bit more advanced, then you may need chemotherapy additionally. And then for cervical cancers and some types of uterine cancers, they sometimes require radiation.
What do you think of the HPV vaccine? I also heard you mention that speech to the Rotary Club, and I haven't thought about that in a long time. My co-anchor Jenny and I talked about it when her children were super young because she was debating what to do. Is there still controversy surrounding that, and what do you think of it?
Well, there's controversy surrounding the word vaccine.
Sort of the vaccine period. No, you're right.
Vaccine period.
Yeah.
But I really think of this as cancer prevention.
Okay.
I don't think of it as fighting off an infection like some of the other vaccines do. This prevents over 99% of cervical cancers can be prevented because they're caused by HPV. And if you vaccinate people before they're ever exposed to HPV, because we're all going to get exposed to it.
Right.
If we vaccinate kids before they're exposed to it, or if someone didn't get vaccinated, they can get vaccinated up to the age of 45 if they've been exposed to other strains of HPV. This protects against 9 different strains of it, and it protects against cervical cancer, vaginal cancer, vulvar cancer, as well as cancers that can happen in men and some head and neck cancers that affect both men and women.
Okay, so HPV vaccine you can discuss with your primary care physician and go from there. Well, I told you this 10, 11 minutes would fly by, and it has. Did we skip anything? Anything you wanted to highlight before we go?
I just want to say it's really important to be aware that these cancers exist, to know your body, know what your symptoms are, and to seek care early if you notice any of these things, and pay attention to your family history.
Key advice there. Doctor, thank you for that and for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Dr. Bunja Rungran, gynecological oncologist here in Augusta and a just a wealth of information, as you just heard. Share it with your friends and family. When we come back, how you can help us get more great guests on the Means Report.